Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Endangered, and this is a new documentary from directors Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady, focusing on the threats against journalists in both the United States and other places, and this is produced by Ronan Farrow, who seems to be having a pretty good deal at HBO, with a lot of projects coming out, including the Woody Allen, Mia Farrow documentary series that came out recently in the past couple years. And this film, I feel like, is a lot more interesting when it's focusing on other countries, because it also, like, as an American, it gives something fresh and interesting to look at. It provides a different perspective and a different kind of setup because it's something I'm not used to. And I feel like I'm learning something. I feel like I'm getting perspective on something because I don't feel like most of the scenes that focused on, like, American politics was very interesting or new or, like, unique in any way, because all of this stuff is already reported on. And that's the tricky thing about trying to make a documentary about this. And if they did really focus mostly on the endangerment of journalists, which there were moments, and I feel like that's an important thing to look at, because there were a couple of scenes where they focused on journalists being arrested out of nowhere and digging into the importance of what's guaranteed by the Constitution. But most of this film doesn't focus on that. Most of it feels like it's just focusing on, well, this is Trump's America. And it's already reported on the news all the time. And this didn't really feel fresh or interesting. And a lot of the interviews that they have, it was pretty eye-opening and showed how obnoxious a lot of people can be, in terms of, this happening with this guy says he'll do an interview, asks a question, it's like, I can't hear you through your mask. It's just like, oh, you're going to be that way, act like a big baby. And there's other ones where it's just like, it's a lot of the general rhetoric that you hear. I feel like this kind of that's the thing. If this really focused on endangerment of reporters and journalists like it was supposed to, at least in the sections where it focused on America, that probably would have been a little bit more interesting and different, because that isn't something that's reported on all the time. But it wound up focusing on a lot of things that are reported on all the time. I could go on Yahoo and see articles about this literally every single day. And it made this documentary less interesting and less fresh. And if you're not trying to offer anything new, and also if you're not really sticking to your thesis, it's hard to really gain something of value out of this. But it's still a well-made documentary. It definitely has some moments in the American aspect, part 2, that are interesting and compelling. It's just overall, it didn't really stay focused and also leaned too heavily into things that are like, well, duh. But I think the strength of this film was where it focused on other cultures and other situations. And I wish that they got more out of that and focused more on that, because it was much more compelling. But when those scenes were there, it was something interesting and deeply intriguing. And maybe they make a follow-up and focus more on that instead of focusing on the things that we already know every day, because it's like right in our face. But those are my thoughts on Endangered. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.